Oh, we have 3 new views.
Already? Welcome to Our Thoughts, Your Thoughts, a show where we talk about the things you want to talk about.
And the things you don't want to talk about.
So, we have a lovely laugh. Who is this lovely person?
Introduce yourself.
Oh, okay. So I guess I can introduce myself by saying my name is Cassandra.
What's up, Cassandra?
Hi.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. I guess what I can say about myself is I'm a wife, a mom, a daughter, a friend, a sister, a cousin. I have many titles, and I'm happy to be here with you guys tonight. This is definitely me stepping out of my comfort zone.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm here.
So, what makes you special?
What makes me special? Depends who you ask.
I'm asking you.
What makes me special? I don't know. I guess I'm a keep it real type of girl. It's very difficult for me to be fake. So whoever knows me really well will know that if you're in my company, if you're with me, it's going to be real. It's real or nothing at all.
So, where's that from, that keeping it real thing?
I have a hard time when it's not real. It's hard for me to be a real friend. It's hard to me to be a real employee if I'm not happy, if I feel that there's dishonesty. So I guess I'm just that keep it real kind of person.
So, in the idea of keeping it real, what does the ideal world looks like to you?
I'd say it's definitely not the world we live in.
Damn.
Definitely not the world. An ideal world would be a place where everyone is honest with each other, where everyone gets to be themselves, where everyone is accepted, but that we all get to be ourselves, we all get to be happy. I find the world is on a decline. It's harder to find happiness as the years go by. When we were younger, I feel that we were happy and we had the hopes of life getting better. And as we're evolving in life and getting better jobs, better careers, children, families, instead of life being happier, it's getting harder.
So, one last thing for our guests. What would you consider happiness to be? What does happiness look like
happiness
to you?
is personal. Everyone has, like, some people think money will make them happy. Some people think families will make them happy. We all have our different interpretation as to what happiness is. For me, it's my family. My husband, my kids, my mom, my friends. It's just the realness that's around me is what makes me happy.
Dope.
The realness around you makes you real.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? If you surround yourself with fake people, you'll be fake.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right?
See, the way she put it just went over my head. The realness around you makes you real, but you broke it down.
So, with that being said, shout out to Sweet Pages Bakery, who hooked up these amazing looking desserts. They're very butter tartish. To my darling wife, I will do my best. Send a comment if you see that the dessert is disappearing slowly. Because sometimes I eat and... Okay, I got to tell you a quick story. This is kind of funny, okay? So, back when I was starting my physiotherapy program, one of the guys that ended up becoming one of my good buddies, he's like, hey, can you hold my banana muffin?
Oh, I remember this.
Right? And I was like, sure, I'll hold your banana muffin. And then he walked away and I went, ooh, a banana muffin. And I ate the whole thing.
No.
Yeah, and then when he came back, he's like, man, you got my muffin? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. So I'm looking forward to this, but for real, like, if you see me eating it too much, I have to leave some for my darling wife. So please, somebody stop me.
So she told me what the flavors were.
Oh, okay.
And I totally forgot.
Oh, Lord.
Okay.
So do you remember, Kara, what they are?
Blueberry, strawberry.
So one of them is blueberry, strawberry, and the tarts are
Blueberry, strawberry.
and raisin.
No. The tarts are blueberry, strawberry.
Okay.
Okay.
The tarts are blueberry, strawberry.
Okay. I feel
Okay.
like, okay.
Strawberry.
Okay.
And the butter tarts are one with raisins and without
Okay.
raisins.
Okay.
Cool. So we'll give you a chance to bite through it, and then we'll start with the the song.
The songs of the week. So as we always do with our guests, what is your song of the week? What are you vibing to right now? New, old, whatever.
Okay, so my song's old.
Okay.
I've always been a Wyclef fan, and I will forever be a Wyclef fan. So my song is Originala by Wyclef.
How does it go?
Originala. So, so pretty much it's a shout out to Haitian women and how men are Haitian men. They're not trying to eat Chinese food every day. They're not trying to eat Kentucky Fried Chicken. They want to eat their Haitian food. So because I've always I cook a little Haitian food here and there, and I like to take care of my men. So
I've seen Pascal. He's swole. He like this. He
Coming
D's.
from a big guy.
He D's. So he eat well. He eat well. It's all good. He eats well. He eats well.
That reminds me of. It's a great song, by the way.
Yeah,
I love
fantastic
it.
song.
2 stories, real quick. I'll keep it short.
Okay.
Dorm Taman. Have you? Yeah, it's a YouTube show.
Okay.
So it's like this Jamaican boyfriend versus American boyfriends.
Mm-hmm.
So an American girl will bring like McDonald's for dinner to her man, and they're like, "Ooh, McDonald's!" Right?
Yeah.
And the same girl brings a bag of burgers to a Jamaican guy, and he's like, "Burger!" and slaps it away. But remember when Wyclef came here for Blues Fest?
Yeah.
Did you go?
Of course.
I went.
That was one of the best moments of my life.
It was carnival for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
30
I
minutes.
remember that.
And he brought Akon on, and they went up the.
I was pissed about that though.
Why?
Man, he jumped over the fence. We're like, all right, why did we pay? Clef when he hopped over the fence to go party with people in the street.
Yeah.
We're like,
I think we were outside and we were right beside the tour bus. We're like, oh my god.
like I respected it, but at the same time I was like, man, I paid for a ticket.
But it was dope. It was really
it was dope.
It was really nice, and
dope.
it was so hot. The rain came down.
Yeah.
It just cooled things down, man.
Yeah.
It was great.
I find a lot of times during the Blues Fest when there's a really like good hot performance, the rain will just come down.
Yeah. Well, it's Canada Day. It always
That's true.
rains on
That's
Canada
true.
Day.
That's true. But I remember it came down for Kanye West. It came down.
You went to Kanye?
The first time. Not the second time.
Were they there, Carol? Oh.
No.
Anyways.
I went the second time.
Yeah.
To Kanye?
Like 2 years ago or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Kanye was great. Anyway,
dope,
so
man.
tell us what you think, because I'm trying to
okay.
I'm trying to eat it,
I've
but
even-
she hasn't even tried it yet.
Exactly.
We're trying
I
to let
have
the
to
guests
try
know.
first?
Yeah. You know what? While you're trying, what's your song of the
Yes.
week?
Okay, mine's old too,
Okay.
but not as down to earth.
Okay.
It's Lil Jon, Throw Your Hood Up.
Lil Jon, Throw Your Hood Up. Okay.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like being like in my early 20s when crunk music came out, and everybody was doing like the A-Town stomp and you know pull your elbows out and stuff. It was a good time, man.
Okay.
It was a good time.
Okay.
Yeah.
See, now I feel like I had a song, but now you guys are making me go like all old school and making me feel some type of
gotta
way.
commit, yo. What's your song?
All right, my song is called "Other Side" by Young Franco.
How's that go?
It's just one of those electronica chilled beats, so there's not a lot of singing over it. It's just dope.
So what are you into? The beat?
The beats dope. The
Okay.
beats dope. Like I think it's also because the beat makes me think of warmer weather. So and I'm over this.
Yes.
So for those listening, we are in Ottawa. We are in Canada, so it's always cold here. But
until it gets hot.
Until it gets hot, then
And
it gets too hot. It's always a
It's
too.
never too hot. It's never too hot.
Very true. Very
Never
true.
too hot.
But it's making me think like, okay, soon. You know, like
It's
all the
coming.
snow is gonna be gone and it's gonna be nice and warm out. So, you know, just looking forward to it. That's all.
dope. Can't wait to listen to it. But
Absolutely,
these butter tarts are actually good.
I haven't tried
Alright.
the butter tart. I tried the blueberry.
Okay.
I think it's very good.
Nice.
Like not too sweet.
Okay.
Very good.
All right, honey. I'm not gonna eat it all. All right. So let's dive right into it. So what's up, J Mike? What's up, Jean Baptiste? So as a parent, okay, and make sure to share the show. But as a parent, you know, we all have young kids. How do you feel about this new ban in Ontario, where they're saying in high school they're going to be banning cell phones in classes? I already thought it was banned, but What do you think about that?
I completely agree that it should be done and it should have been done. So the reason I say that is if I think about when I was a young girl in high school, like if we got caught with our cell phones at school, our phones were taken away for 30 days.
Wait.
Your parents couldn't come. I went to Sammy G. Our parents couldn't come and say, like, I want my child's cell phone. It was gone. Like, there was nothing you can do. Wow. You had to wait the 30 days, and on the 30th day, you could go into the principal's office and say, okay, I'm here to collect my phone. And the reason why I think it should be banned, I feel that our kids in this generation have no limits, no boundaries. There's no no's. And while they're in school, while they're in class, what is the need for a cell phone? So because of that, I feel that it should, like when our children are going to be at the age where they have to work, they're going to have limits, they're going to have consequences. There are things they're not going to be allowed to do. So if we let them do whatever they want, and even in high school, they get to have their cell phones with them wherever where they can text. When they are going to be in the working environment, where are the limits going to be? They're not used to hearing no. They can do whatever they want. So and what is the need for a cell phone in class?
I agree.
Will the argument be like, I have to Google something?
Yeah, but I think there's designated time
Times,
and resources available to them, right? Like if it's like, for example, if you're allowed to bring your laptop during your class or whatever, or you use the classroom computers, I think that's a good time to use it. But chances are, I remember a time. If I had the same high school as me. if I had the same access to technology now, when we're younger, I'd be texting all day. I probably wouldn't even pay attention. And also, like what about tests and stuff like that? How do you mitigate that? Like, is it like the mob where everybody at the beginning of class they leave their cell phones at the front? Like, how would that go, right? But at the same time, I feel like the reliance on technology is it's not a good thing. It's not a benefit to the kids, because you got to think outside the box, and thinking outside the box is not Googling anything. You know, and some of the best information out there are not on Google. You, like, especially like when you're thinking about when you're writing a paper or whatever, you're gonna get only some like very limited pieces of information.
And that's not really what they're looking for. When they're in class and they're on their phones, they're not actually doing any research. They're just texting their friends that are in another class in another school.
Instagrams, Snapchat.
Checking, And for me, cell phones altogether, there should be limits as to when they can be used, when they can. So our children have no limits anymore. And I feel that that's what the problem is.
That's true.
Oh, mine do.
Oh, so do mine.
So do mine.
It's my quiet time. Like, yeah, go on your tablet.
But you know what's funny? I think there's a lot of factors to take into consideration with this whole cell phone situation. First of all, because people tend to have, especially like you said in this generation, like there's a sense of entitlement. I feel like teachers are gonna have to fight with students.
Yeah,
I feel like that's gonna go down. I feel like there may very well be some physical altercations because of people saying, no, that's my phone, you ain't touching my phone. Like, you're hearing about people getting in fights for like vape pens. So imagine you take away their phones, right?
Okay.
Like, kids are gonna start losing their minds.
Yeah.
What kind of makes me laugh is I'm like, this show, again, I'm not super old. I'm like a young, 46. Is that what it is? Young 47.
Okay, you gotta retire that joke.
46?
I know. I'm sorry. No, I'm joking.
Okay.
I know black. I know black don't crack. But I'm not Benjamin Button. You know what I'm saying? But what I was saying was, like, I remember when I was in high school, I had a pager, right? I didn't even have a cell phone. I just remember having a pager, and like, it's just crazy how things have evolved, right?
Yeah.
And I remember when I was in grade 10, I'll never forget. I had a teacher named Mr. Gillis. He was my math teacher. We weren't even allowed to have calculators.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you're going to get reliant on it. You're not allowed to have a calculator in my class. Now kids are like, oh, well, I want to check Google. It's like, no, first of all, no, you don't.
Yeah.
No, you don't. You either want to check Google or say, "Sir, can I have a bathroom break?" And then you go watch porn in the bathroom.
Yeah.
Like that. Like, no, it's true. How much
Yeah.
you want to bet? There'll be a bunch of. It'd be a problem. It would be an epidemic. You know what I mean? It'd be opioids and watching porn in
the
bathrooms.
bathroom. But the whole cell phone thing, I would also say, like, I think it's gonna the work it has to come from home.
Of course.
The parents have to put in that groundwork where it's like, listen, you better not get caught at school with your cell phone, because if the teachers take it away, it's gone. I'm not gonna go fight for you. You know the rules. You need to learn how to respect the rules. Yeah. And that's it.
You know what's the best is, like, you said that entire statement in English, but in my mind it replayed in Creole.
Yeah.
If they take it, that's it. That's it. You not how.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, taking away these kids' cell phones will give them more of an incentive and more of an obligation to actually communicate. If you ever talk with, like, not even a millennial, even younger kids in high school, it's hard to make conversation with them because they're so fixated with what's going on their phone.
Yeah.
And even when they talk to you, it's like what do I do?
They're not used to talking.
How do I say LOL in real life? Right?
Yeah.
So they're not used to communicating. But I don't interact with like 18-year-olds every day, but teachers do.
Yeah.
Imagine how frustrating that must be.
Yeah.
But that's why they should do a reality show on, like, you know, teens dating, and you take away their phones.
Yeah.
that would be hilarious.
Yeah.
I would watch that all the time.
So, what are your thoughts on the phone ban in Ontario that's happening this coming September?
So is it official?
Yeah,
I think it's
Yeah.
official.
It's official.
Yeah.
So let us know what you think. Put your comments down there.
Put your comments in the section, and then as they come through, we'll read them. And but we'll move on here. Well, one thing that's interesting though, I remember Joe Rogan interviewed Elon Musk.
Yeah.
And Elon Musk, you know, people are like, oh, you know, one day we're gonna be, you know, cyborgs and we're gonna be part technology, and he's like, we're already there.
Yeah.
He's like, we have our phones.
Yeah.
Like it's part of us now.
Yeah.
So now it's crazy because it's starting at a younger age.
Yeah,
Right.
for
Before
sure.
it was like, oh, adults have phones. Now it's like
Teenagers
have
have phones.
phones.
We went to a friend of my mom's friend was throwing a surprise party for her teenage son, and we got there. She invited us to be there for the surprise party, and we got there, and all these teenagers are on their phone and they're like snapping, waiting for him to arrive. And he arrived. Everyone had it on their snaps or whatever. They're all recording so they can post it. He arrived. Everyone said happy birthday, and I would say, like, within 15-20 minutes, everybody was gone. They just lived for that moment and to post the moment, and then they were gone and off to the next thing.
But the thing is too, like, I think it was Rude Jude who said, like, so many people now are so they're so busy documenting the moment that they're not
enjoying the moment.
right?
Yeah.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
But
that also reminds me of, like, I think I told you over the summer, I think around September, I went out clubbing for the first time in like
years,
like 15 years.
Yeah.
And it was the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
So I'm there, and when I was there early, and the club starts, and people start coming through, and some of the music is starting to get really live. DJ Who Kid came to town, so I went to see him. And at some point, the music got really, really good, but nobody was dancing. All I saw, it was people in their VIP places taking pictures, and nobody on the floor going crazy. That was weird for me. Maybe it was that one club, but
no, it's like that.
It was just weird,
I would imagine.
Yeah.
J Mike's saying basically, like, you guys, they weren't even allowed to have cell phones in the school building.
Yeah.
So they would if they found them, they would be confiscated for a week.
Sure.
But like you said, okay, it is up to the parents. But where do you draw the line with the parents? Because now we're even hearing about scandals about parents getting their kids into schools, right? Like we saw with Aunt Becky,
Full House.
Aunt Becky and Felicity Huffman. So, like, what do you think about this whole scandal situation?
So when I think about the scandal, I don't know. As a parent, I feel that I would do anything in my child's power, in my power, to ensure that my child wins. However,
by any means,
by any means necessary, but with the limit of, like, let's say you're playing a game of cards with your friends and you cheat. if you win, that win is not as you're not as happy about the win because you know you've cheated it. Whereas if you actually won, like when you actually win something without having cheated, you feel so powerful. You're so motivated, so happy because you did it the right way. So when I think about the Felicia Hoffman situation, I think like, okay, yes, you did what you could as a parent to help your child get there, but what is your child going to get out of it in the end if she would have never gotten caught and if they would have graduated? Yes, they would have graduated from a prestigious college or university or whatnot, but there's also that feeling of like I didn't even really earn my place to get in here. So it's a little bit like I would help my children as much as possible, but I don't know that I would cheat to get my children in because then they know they didn't really get in the right way. They're, you know, I don't know.
I totally agree with you. I think as a parent, it's my responsibility to push them as far as I can. And if I have to, you know, forge some stuff and you know help them skip the line, like we're talking about their future, like their the rest of their lives, meaning if they're able to get themselves in a situation where they're set, that means there's going to be less reliant on you to help them forward, right? The only thing I see against that is if you don't teach them how to win on their own, they may not get the skills to do it when they fail.
But that's how these rich kids are. Like they haven't had to, they don't have to work as hard. And, you know, we like, so if I'm thinking about the three of us here, when we think about the rich kids, they're on some next level. But our kids are also in a better situation than other kids.
Well, then probably we were.
Than we were, absolutely than we were. So we have to look at it as now that we're in better jobs, we have more money than our parents ever did, and we're able to provide for our kids. How far would we be willing to go? You know, like I feel like let's be honest with ourselves. They were wrong because it was fraud and you know taking a picture of the daughter like rolling when she's never done it. That's a bit extreme. It's a bit extreme.
That's funny.
Yeah, but as parents, I do feel that sometimes, you know, like I tell like my husband, I'm like, you know, like maybe when our kids are in high school, I would like to put them maybe in private school. Not because I feel that the private school system is better, but just because, yes, you pay money for your child to be there. And then there's also parents who are rich who put their children there. So it gives our children better, well, I don't want to say better, but different acquaintances. So that's may help them. So, hey, if it's you're friends with the dad of a child who's the parent is the director of some
Full House or something.
you know, so if my kid needs to do volunteer work somewhere, well, they have better networking circles. So I'm not against it per se, but I think they went overboard. They're trying to get their children ahead.
I think they
So
got
I don't know
caught.
how you feel about that.
They got caught.
They got caught.
Like somebody wasn't happy about the hustle and then became a whistleblower. There's no way that after all these years it just happened. Somebody noticed. Like somebody snitched hard.
But wasn't it like it was like a whole sting operation? It was Operation Varsity Blues or whatever. I think that's what it was called.
Oh.
Great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's what it was. And Lex brought up a really good point. It does take the spot away from someone who deserved it, right? That's the other thing too. And
yes and no.
Well, like let's just say let's just say in this situation, you know, I don't know why. Let's just say Becky is like a C student. And she fakes rower pictures.
Yeah.
Right? And then you got someone from a less favorable situation who worked their butt off and they happen to be like an A- student and they were on, you know, every club at school and did everything they could, and then, you know, Becky got in but such and such didn't.
I agree, but I also feel that in these days, yes, I mean...
But you just said for the phones that people, you know, kids don't hear no.
They don't hear no, but my point...
No,
Yo, you're too slick.
No, but I'm just saying.
You're too slick.
No, but my point is that in this day and age, yes, the kids that are going to these Ivy League colleges and universities may be better off, but a child who's meant to be will be.
Yeah, I agree with that.
A
100%.
child
Fair-
who's
fair
meant
enough.
to be will be.
Fair enough.
And it's not necessarily that one spot. And I mean, it would have to be like, I think they filed. I think 49 people or something got charged. I don't know. I don't have the exact numbers. So let's say about 30 or 35 children. There may be more. There's a lot of places in these colleges and universities for admissions. Yes, they may have taken 50 or 100 spots altogether, but the kids who are meant to be will be.
But does that not also contribute to like the next generation of people just being entitled?
Yeah.
Because listen, if I know, okay, listen. If I'm a cretin and I know I'm I'm
You're
not
good,
smart,
yeah.
and then I open my mail and I'm like, USC on a full ride, I'm not gonna be like, yay, I got in. I'm gonna be like something. But that's my personality. I'd be
but
like,
that's what I was saying before.
Yeah.
These kids, they go, but they know deep down, like they don't have that joy of like I'm graduating with that pride that I earned my way there. I earned my
or you're rich and you have that illusion that you actually got in, but you really didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, but those kids knew, right? I think from
They
the
know-
articles I read, a lot of these kids knew what was going on. They were involved. Like if you're taking a picture, your mom is telling you like pose right like this, so I could take a picture of you rowing.
To
you
get
know,
in.
yeah, you
Yeah.
know.
But studies do show that there's no direct correlation between being in an Ivy League school and
And it's-
where you end up in your
In
life.
life, that's
The-
I think that's my
That's true.
point.
That's
true.
That's my
Because
point.
what Cassandra's saying that I 100% agree with, the kids who are meant to be will be. What I get from that is there's one thing that entitlement doesn't give you is drive.
Yeah.
People with drive will make it no matter what situation you put them in. And the only thing with failing teaches you how to get back up. But if you're always up,
Yeah.
what happens once you fail once? You lose it,
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
Anyways,
That's true. That's true.
what are people saying, man?
Well, so we have Pascal saying, but if you grew up as an entitled child, you expect that letter of acceptance, even if you didn't earn it. All depends on how you were being raised, and that's true. That's true, and that's the point that's one of the things I was trying to say. I'm like, you might be creating like a generation of like sociopaths, right? Because they're gonna be like, I deserve this. And it's
Yeah.
like, no, you really didn't do anything for this, right?
But the thing is, who creates these children? It's the parents who had to work hard and be like, oh, I earned this, I worked hard, so my kids never got to go through this. So they raised the opposite of who they were.
But that's what how we're raising our kids too, though.
Yeah.
At a lower scale, but we're ensuring that.
I don't agree. I don't like that.
But you know what's interesting? Kara brought up a good point. How she was saying that if we don't know if she was getting good grades, like the daughter. You know what I mean? So who knows? But the thing that's funny is I was watching an interview with Andrew Schultz, and he was saying how the generations are getting softer in the sense that like he was saying from a state's perspective, he's like, you had parents who were around during the Vietnam War. Then they got their kids soft because they were like, we want to get our kids everything that we didn't have.
Yeah.
And then the next generation after them are even softer.
Yeah.
And there's studies that show that the entrepreneurial parent or the parent that made it from rags to riches, they're the ones who create the fortune. The next generation sustains it.
Yeah.
The ones after blow it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Old money.
For
They
sure.
just kill it because
Yeah.
they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do with it.
But
Yeah.
guys, we have to think like this is us.
Oh yeah.
This is our like we're doing better than our parents were, and then we're spoiling our children.
Yeah.
Fair.
So are they gonna succeed or are they gonna fail?
Yeah.
Because life is that much easier. Like my kids watch TV sometimes and they tell me, "Oh, like yeah, I want this," just like that. Like it's just expected that they're just like mom is gonna go, mom and dad are just gonna go and buy
Yeah,
it.
because mom and dad do just go and
Yeah,
buy it.
exactly.
You know, like
Exactly.
there's
Mom.
there's times where Carol will come up to me and be like, "Oh, I saw this toy on sale," and I'm like, so? And she would say, yeah, they'll love it. It does this, it does that. I'm like, it sounds like you really want this toy. It's like she's more excited about it, right?
The kids, yeah.
But one thing I do think is extremely important is kids to learn how to deal with disappointment. They got to learn how to deal with, like, when they don't get their way, what next?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. If you start having a meltdown because you don't have your way, then, Leo, life is going to be hard on you. If that's the case, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, one thing, like, there's times where Karen and I will just go out and we'll have fun with them. And it's, when the thing's almost done, they were like, "Oh, so what are we gonna do next?" Like, what?
Like that was the event. That was where the money has been spent.
Exactly.
Yeah, like how
agree.
dare you be so ungrateful?
Yeah.
And then,
but it's because life is just that easy for them.
Exactly.
So they just like it's never enough. For us, it was like we would get like this one outing, and it was like, oh my gosh, you know, mom did this or dad did this. Like it was a big deal.
But it was also with the premise of, look at here. We're gonna go here. You don't ask me for nothing. You don't say nothing.
Yes.
If you do, we never coming back. And you just, I'll be good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I don't have the heart for that. Sometimes I threaten it, and I just can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
We put it this way. So I listened to a book by this clinical psychologist who teaches at U of T, and he's world renowned. His name is Jordan Peterson. Okay, I'm sure you've seen him. He's controversial.
Oh
right?
yeah.
So he wrote a book called 12 Rules to Life: An Antidote for Chaos. Yeah, I listened to it, and one of the things that he says, don't let your kids do things that make you dislike them.
Oh,
that's one of his rules.
Okay,
that's one of his rules.
That makes you dislike
That
your child?
that makes you dislike your own child. Because if they become people that you dislike as a parent, you're supposed to love them unconditionally.
Yeah.
So if you dislike them, other people will not like them at all.
For sure.
yeah. I agree with that.
Right?
I agree with that.
So, you know, which kind of leads us into this whole generation of raising our kids, you know, a certain way, a right way. A lot of times now we're hearing this whole, like, left, right, and center, we're hearing me too, me too, me too, me too, me too, me too. As a parent, because now we're talking about raising our kids. As a parent, what are your thoughts on raising, you know, as you wish? You know, you're lucky you have a boy and a girl. We have 7 boys between the two of us.
We're lucky too.
I'm just saying, you can come in like done. You know what I mean? But I'm saying, you know, you have that unique perspective.
Yeah.
You know, you as well as your husband, you have that perspective of having a girl and a boy. So when you look at that and you see all this stuff in the news of, you know, the Me Too movement, like, what are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so if I think about my son and the Me Too movement, like we've talked about it in the past where, you know, like, so my son is part of the Scouts. So very often, like, they have to go away for a weekend, they have to go away for a week. And we always used to drill in his head, like, make sure nobody touches you. If you have to change, you go in the bathroom. Like, no one gets to see you naked. No one gets to touch you. And he would always say, like, why? What are you talking about? And we're like, there's just some people in the world that don't know what they're doing, and they take advantage of young boys. But now, like about a year or two ago, I was having a conversation with Pascal, and I said, you know what? We always guard our kids, like our daughter and our son, like, no one can touch you. Make sure you protect yourself. But I'm like, we also have to teach our kids that they can't be the abusers. Like, no one wants to think about their kid. We all want to protect our kids, but we never want to think about our kids being the ones who are touching another child or who are making another child feel uncomfortable. So for me, when I think of this Me Too movement, I don't want my son or my daughter to be implicated in any way. I don't want them to be the ones being violated, but I also feel that I have to teach them to make sure that they respect their bodies and that they know to respect other people's bodies.
That's
So
deep.
I don't know how
It is
you...
deep.
Yeah.
It's true. That's
Well,
true.
we never think about
That's
it,
why
right?
we got this perspective. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. I think, I know for me personally, the biggest thing is having 4 sons. I think the thing that keeps me up at night is accusations. Right? Like someone saying your kid did something. You know what I mean? And the thing is, we live in a generation now, I find it's very tricky because now we live in a generation where, let's just say someone does something. Typically, it's more like something happens and a girl does something and regrets it.
Yeah.
right? Like I just saw in the news, there was a football player named Sean Oakman who played for Baylor University. I
Who's
believe
like the biggest man in the world.
like he's a freak.
Like
but,
big?
like
Huge.
just
Okay.
ginormous.
Huge.
He's huge. But there was
His
this,
neck is like Jethro.
yeah, it's insane. It's like I don't know what's in the water down there, but he just did a bid for 3 years, went to jail because he was accused of sexual assault and all this stuff. And then it turns out it wasn't even true. Like they suspended the team, they kicked off a bunch of guys from the team, put guys in prison, and then at the end of the day, the person just said, "No, it wasn't true." Like you ruin people's lives. So that scares me, just from that perspective of accusations, and it kind of scares me as well because my kids, like, they're super affectionate, okay, and like they hug all the time, all these things, you know what I mean? And I'm so worried sometimes, but I still want them to be like, men for sure, in touch with their feelings, but be, like people. Sometimes people look at me and they're like, "Damn, you rough with them." I'm like, "Man, I'm raising kings." Like I'm like that's like I have no choice. But I'm so worried sometimes, like that they might do the wrong thing, but they just think they're being innocent. You know what I mean? And now,
But
especially,
you can't take that chance.
but that's what I'm saying. And now, like for example, my 3-year-old just loves hugging everyone. Doesn't matter who it is, right? Like it could be a stranger. We're like, don't do that. You don't know who it is. Don't do that. But as he grows up, and especially I feel like this Me Too thing, like it's gonna start younger and younger.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So he might get to like grade, I don't know, 4 or 5, and like hug someone, and she'll be like, "Oh, he touched me. I didn't want to be touched." And then the school calls me in. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit scary in that regard, but I definitely like appreciate the perspective that you brought, where you're like, you have to tell your kid, like, you can't go do that to someone else. You because sometimes we take for granted that my child should know better.
Exactly.
But sometimes they don't. Right?
And it's not that they don't know any better. It's like, like we grew up as Haitian kids. Like, did your parents ever have the talk with you about like your hormones and how you're developing and like you may be getting feelings? It's normal. Yeah. But it doesn't give you the right to then try and express your whatever you're going through on somebody else. So our generation, it's for us to now teach our kids, like, listen, your body's going to be going through stuff. You may wake up with like, whatever.
No, I know, 100%.
For the young boys, but like it stays there until you're old enough to understand what this means and how you're going to meet a girl or a partner and, where there's consent, like nothing gets done about that.
I never got to talk. They just told me, don't touch the nambi. That's it. That's it. So nambi's conch meat, and it's supposedly an aphrodisiac, and they're just like from the age of like 10 to like 13, they're like don't touch that. I'm like, why? It looks delicious. They're like, no. I'm like,
because it's what it would make you.
Yeah, exactly. They're like, it's gonna and I'm like, I don't even know what that means. What are you talking about?
No. But what Cassandra was talking about, I'm good with, because having an open line of dialogue with your kids is one of the biggest things that you can have to prevent, because you'll know when your kid is lying. If you tell your kids, no matter what, come to me first, tell me what's going on, and we'll deal with it. Then they can actually come to you, and you'll know how to defend and help your kid. But if you don't have that open line of communication, you're gonna have issues, right? Like, I remember there's so much stuff that happened in my life, but not everything my parents knew. But I feel like if they did know, I probably would have been able to deal with the situation a little bit better. But obviously they had it worse than we do, right? Simun bayan doit pas la gamun, right? But for me, like, one of my sons, we're really cool. Every time I come home, I can sense that there's something, and he won't go on with the rest of the evening until he gets that chance to express that, right? Whether he's guilty or whether he's not. And I've made sure to instill that in all of my kids, that we can be open about what happened, because if you don't do that, you're gonna have issues. You're gonna have kids doing all sorts of jacked up stuff that you don't even know about, and you're thinking that, my kid is innocent. My kid is my kid is number one, right?
Isn't that what every parent of serial killers sound like?
Or every parent. We all think our kids are the best.
That's true. We have a bias. We have a bias.
towards our own.
But there's the other piece of that. Us thinking our kids are the best. That means our kids are thinking that we think that they're the best.
Yeah.
So they're gonna have to start living up to that, whether it's true or a lie, and that's scarier, right? They might be really doing some crazy thing, and they come home, "Oui, papa," and all that stuff, and meanwhile, your son is the son that everybody's talking about, and you don't know.
Yeah.
But sometimes you gotta talk shit to the kid.
Oh yeah,
Just to put him in his place.
Yeah.
you need balance.
Yeah.
You need balance. You need balance. Remember, I was saying like Haitian parents are the best for that. You know what I mean? They'll talk you up. They'll talk you up to their friends, but to you, oh my god, they will talk
You
so
ain't
much
shit.
shit. You ain't shit. Like there should be a course.
I don't know if I agree.
Yo,
with
there's
that.
maybe 'cause
As
you're a girl.
Mom,
You're a mom.
Like,
You're a mom. Like I know, like from time to time, because sometimes like my eldest son, like he could be a jerk, right, to his younger brothers, right. I remember when he was like, "What's this times this?" He's like, "I'm in grade 1, man. I don't know. So then I ask him a harder equation. And because he's in grade 3, I'm like, "What's the answer to that?"
Exactly.
He's like, I don't know, Dad." I'm like, "Then don't do it to your brother." But just the look at it, he's like, "I don't know, man. I'm in grade 1. You know that."
Yeah.
Oh, it's
But
jokes, man.
I think like we all have it hard because it's hard for us being adults in the Me Too movement. It's even harder for the kids growing up, learning that. And we talked about this on the show where the curriculum, when they had the sexual curriculum in grade 1 and 2, that was, to me, it was a really good benefit because the kids were learning everything at the same time. So they all know the same thing. Because you might be teaching your kid at 6 and 7. I might be teaching mine at 8 and 9.
Yeah.
So we may be at different places at different time.
Yeah.
And something that he thinks is normal, his son or her daughter, just like no,
they're not there yet. Yeah,
so like that too, I think is very important because sometimes they would come home and teach me stuff that I didn't know, and I was really surprised that they knew but understood.
Yeah,
because they got to be a little bit more mature earlier on, and say, like I remember we used to say, "Oh, do you need to go pee pee? Make sure you wipe your pee-pee after you pee-pee." And one day they came like, "Daddy, it's a penis." Yeah. I was like, oh.
No more nicknames for that. Like,
I felt
real
so
terms.
immature. Yeah, but they were taught well. And it's too bad that the Ford government has taken that away.
Okay.
Yeah, the curriculum. Because a lot of parents felt uncomfortable that their kids were learning some stuff, but I feel like once they're all learning it at the same time,
it would have created definitely I think a more progressive generation where like if I compare like my kids, I feel like they already know too much. They know too much, and we went to Haiti with our kids a few years ago, and kids that were exactly the same age as ours. Kids, like real kids, like still playing with dolls, still, playing outside. But our kids are on some next level. Like they're already way more advanced. So for me, the whole curriculum, I was okay with it.
Yeah,
because I feel that our kids have to learn these things and they have to be aware of what's out there, what's acceptable, what isn't. And it's difficult for us as parents to teach them that. I don't know. Like, you guys have boys, so I don't know how you feel about, like, how are you raising your boys to be around girls? Like, there's the whole, I don't know. I think I'm biased towards the whole Me Too movement. I accept it. I agree with it in the sense that the victims are able to come out and say what they've been, what they've handled or what they've had to endure. However, I don't know that I'm in agreement as like, if you were like a horny 18, 19-year-old and now you're in your 30s, you're not the same person. So I think that this whole Me Too movement, as much as it's beneficial to women or mostly women being able to come out and voice what they've been through, I don't know that it makes sense for them to necessarily, yes, they get a voice, but I don't know that it's fair that they're now ruining men's reputations who are may no longer be the person they were at the time of the
incident or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah. No, 100%
That's
agree.
a good point.
100% agree.
That's a good point.
That's
We're
true.
not. We evolve, right? We're
Of
not
course.
the same people, so I don't know. I'm kind of biased a little towards it.
Some men don't grow up though.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
true. But then they get exposed.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
those
Pun
ones
intended.
deserve. Yeah. Those ones deserve to get exposed. But the ones who have have a clean record for the last 10, 15 years and that are doing things in our community, I don't know that it's worth it to ruin their reputation like 15, 20 years down and ruin their legacy when they were young men that took advantage of their situations, and they quite often found women who were.
No, I hear you, man.
But
Yeah.
some people might say, to counter what you're saying, is, well, yeah, they've done that and they were able to grow up and move on, but I was affected
That's true.
for the last 10, 15 years, and I was unable to move forward because of whatever happened.
Yeah, so I get it. There should be some type of consequence for that, but I don't know if we're going about it the right way.
Yeah. So I guess at the bottom line is, as a parent, just educate your kids as much as you can, you know, and you know you can only control what you can control.
Yeah.
Right. And then just go from there.
Isn't it crazy? Like, we're talking about the cell phones and like millennials talking to one another and having a hard time communicating, right? I think one of the things that could actually alleviate some of the Me Too stuff is better communication. So the between the two parties, right? But if they don't even know how to talk to each other properly in the first place, how's that going to happen?
Like men and women,
Men
like
and
young
women,
men, young women,
exactly.
teenage girls and boys.
Handmaid's Tale.
You breed them.
That's what's gonna happen. That's what's gonna happen. People aren't gonna be able to like date anymore because they won't know what to say to each other, and then it's just gonna be like, you get with them so that our colony doesn't die.
Wow.
But that is a problem. They don't know how to talk
They
to
don't
each
know.
other anymore. Like, there's no passing notes anymore.
Exactly.
It's like it's a meme that they're sharing.
Exactly. It's
It's not like how we.
They send them an eggplant and peach emoji.
Yes.
And just yo, I just found out what an eggplant emoji was like a year ago. I swear. Because I think my wife sent me an eggplant emoji, and I was like, I hate eggplant. It's disgusting. And she's like, what?
I hope so.
But literally, I was like, I hate eggplant. It's disgusting. And I was just like, what? Why are you upset at me? Like, I just don't like, I don't like eggplant. But anyway, that's a different story. I know. I realized it after. She educated me after. Oh, man. So, what's funny is Lex was actually saying that there's a 5-minute rant that I sent in that group that we have on Instagram, and it's literally just me losing my shit for 5 minutes on my kids. And you hear me like, because Lex and I always send each other messages on WhatsApp, but voice messages.
Okay.
And I'm just like, yeah, it is kind of crazy that this, and I'm like, hey, stop. And then I just go off for 5 minutes, and he's like, your 5-minute rant on your kids is a theme song at my house. All you hear is j'ai fini. Non, ça soit rien. Je veux rien entendre. And I'm just losing it. And then I go, anyway, as I was saying. Right? So sometimes people think, yeah, it might be a little tough on your kids sometimes, but I'm like, yo, I'm putting in work now because I want him to, I want it to be like with my dad, where it's like, I could do that, but my dad gonna lose his shit on me. So I'm just like,
yeah. And I personally think that it's important when you raise your kids now to build that where you're so proud of them that they're afraid to disappoint. Like, I think that's way more valuable than discipline, like physical discipline. Like, my kids know that we trust them so much, we love them so much, and they know what's right, they know what's wrong, that if, like, one day my son got in a little altercation at school, and he came, like, when I went to pick him up, he was freaking out because he thought that he was going to be in trouble. And I said, well, what did you do? What part did you play? And I'm like, okay, cool. All right, life goes on. And he's like, you're not mad? I'm like, no. I don't expect you to be perfect. If you're in the right for what you stood for, what you said, it's okay.
Yeah. Kids
so they're
love
afraid
that.
to. He was afraid to disappoint, but he was right in that situation. So I was like, oh.
Absolutely.
It helps them see the bigger picture,
Mm-hmm.
right? Instead of just being like in the details or being afraid or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It helps them think on their own, right?
Exactly.
But like I remember my dad coming to me is like, oh, Roberto, it's like you're too tough on the kids, and I'm like, you, you, how dare you say that
After beating me?
Yeah, like,
Exactly,
like how can you say that, you know?
Oh,
But
man.
but honestly, I think I'm very proud to say everybody at the table here are doing their damnedest for their kids, and trying to raise like true gentlemen and it's hard to say ladies because this is like one of the first ones, huh?
She's the first
Non-wife.
non-wife to be on the show. The first non-wife.
With a daughter.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
is true. This is
We've
true.
never-
So it's a
we've never
unique
had anybody
perspective.
with a daughter on the show.
Oh man. So you know what? With that comment, I don't think we could end on a higher note
Yeah.
than that. So
Cass, thank you so much for joining the show. You're amazing.
thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Your perspective was really needed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you for
Absolutely.
having me. I got to step out of the box, my comfort zone. So
Oh, you seem very comfortable, so you're good.
And you will be welcome back anytime.
great.
Anytime. So once again, shout out to Sweet Pages Bakery. It was very difficult to have this in front of me and not eat it.
The butter
See,
tart's really good.
See, if y'all see, I'm a tick guy. So for me to not eat this, yo, babe, I love you. Okay, but thank you again, Sweet Pages Bakery, and like we said, we're gonna be doing this on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And this is also a podcast, so we're gonna upload it to the podcast tomorrow if you haven't had a chance to listen to the whole thing. But that's it, man.
Yeah. So where can they find you if they can find you anywhere?
I don't know. I have a Facebook page that I'm never on. I'm on Instagram. I never post anything, so I don't know.
She's a parent.
Exactly.
snap.
There you go.
Driving
There you go.
from one place to another, one
Exactly.
class to another.
Exactly.
So moving forward, the show is really more about, two black men's perspective from suburbia about the world, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's more what we're about. And if you guys want to share the show, that's exactly what we want you to tell people. It's a show where you hear two black suburban men's perspective.
Just two black dudes from the suburbs,
Suburbs.
talking about
What is
stuff.
that?
Suburbia.
Anyways, always a pleasure, man.
Always a pleasure. Always
Thanks
a
for
pleasure.
joining.
And thank you so much.
You're
Thank you so
welcome.
much.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
Yes, you're welcome.
Oh man.
Oh,
Good
man.
night.
Okay, I'm